Hi, everyone. This recording is for astronomy students, section 71 for the spring of 2024. This is the late start course for astronomy 120, section 71. Of course, it started last week, but because of the fact that we usually have our meetings on Monday, there was a holiday this past Monday, so we couldn't really meet on that day. Anyway, so today is Wednesday. It's February 21st. And I'm just going to go through basically how the layout of the course is and the type of assignment that you will have in this class and so on and so forth. Again, there will be another meeting this coming Monday at 10 a.m. and you should receive another reminder for it tomorrow and another one also on Monday morning with a link actually on Monday morning. So we will have another meeting on Monday concerning the another part of this class. So for right now, the whole recording and the meeting is actually for the layout of the course and so on and so forth. Attendance for all of this live sessions that I will be holding throughout the semester, which is going to be sporadic, is not going to be required. However, watching the recording later on is required. So immediately after the meeting, once this video is become available, basically for me to download, I will download it and probably make some changes to it, remove stuff that is probably not going to be published and edit it a little bit. It's going to be a minor editing for that matter, but mainly actually edit another thing, which is part of it, the closed caption, and upload it back to Canvas. Basically, the recording will be in a proper place for Canvas. So this is the overall thing as far as this meetings. Again, the attendance is not required to be live. This course on WebAdvisor states that this is an async course, meaning that basically for the most part is going to really follow on your own pace. However, there are some assignments that have due dates. So granted that you will have, because it's an async course, you will have an extended time to complete those assignments. But it still has to have some dates because there are some assignments that follow others and so on and so forth. Okay. So basically we have 3 midterms in this class. So we want assignments leading to the first midterm and assignments leading to the second one and final ones leading to the last one. So this is basically in a nutshell. I know some of you are joining me right now, but again, this recording is going to be posted later on for everybody to see. So the whole point of it is basically how the course is laid out. As I was saying in the beginning, and you should have received a message, for me at least 2 probably messages already concerning this meeting. One of them was specifically basically for the link for this course, for this meeting, I'm sorry. And another one for actually what will be discussed in this meeting. As I was saying in the beginning, there will be another meeting this coming Monday at 10 a.m. Again, that meeting is going to be live. I'd love for you guys to be attending live, okay? It always makes the topic a little richer. But again, if you can't make it live, you still have to watch the recording, okay? Because when you attend live, you ask questions and it reaches the topic and basically make it a little bit clearer than if you're not attending. So again, the whole purpose of today's meeting is just to introduce the course basically and make sure that we have an understanding of how things are. I know I sent you guys the syllabus before the course. I posted the syllabus on Canvas, and you have all the materials at least for 2 weeks already on Canvas. So let me share with you what we have so far. Share this link. I know for the few who are here, you guys are supposed to be looking at something that says Astronomy, Introduction to Astronomy 120-71. Can at least a couple of you in here give me a thumbs up that you guys are looking at the same thing I'm looking at? Yes. I see the chat in here. Very good. Thank you, Selena. Anyway, the point being in here is that, thank you, Damien. Anyway, so this is basically the course when you first come to it, and you can clearly see from the bottom in here that I am in student mode. So basically, I'm looking at it from your vantage point, how it looks to you. So when you come to the course, this is an old recording, of course, it says from 2022. So this is something that probably could be updated, but it's really more general information here. So there is no need for it to update. And the purpose of today's meeting is actually to keep us more up to date of what's going on in this class. This is how the layout, this is when I come in as a student, the bulk of the operation is going to be here. That's most of the time you're going to be, not in the landing page, but most of the time you come to the models in here, okay? That's where everything is going to be. There is no need to go anywhere else outside, unless, for example, you would want to go to the syllabus page. If you want to look, for example, of what's coming, the topics that are coming, when is the next exam, when is, if you want to reach out to me, for example, if in case you need my email address or phone number, or you would want to come to my office or something like that, that's probably where you can go. But most of the times, again, this is the link you would want to click on a regular basis. So when you land on this, you're going to begin here or here. It's the same one. So when I click on models on the top or I click on models in here, it's going to be the same thing. Also, announcements for this user, because it's a test user, I really can't see much in terms of announcements because of the fact you need an email address to be able to communicate on that end. Also, grades this student is really test student, and there are some stuff in here that you guys might want to use. Everything we need in this class should be here. But just as a quick thing in here, let me go through the syllabus just to make sure we have an understanding of what that is, okay? So in my syllabus in here, of course, you see my email address, as I was mentioning before, okay? Also, you see my office hours, okay? All of these office hours are in person, okay? With the exception of today's office hour on Wednesdays from 3:30 to 5 p.m. for about an hour and a half. It's actually an online office hours. And it's mainly dedicated to the people who are taking my astronomy classes because those are the ones who are supposed to be online. The other office hours are not really, you're not prohibited from attending them. As a matter of fact, you're encouraged also to come in person and meet with me. The only condition I really ask for that is please send me a message ahead of time saying that, okay, I'm coming to meet with you on such and such day. Monday at 9:30 or Monday, I have a free time at 10:15. Is there a possible, can we meet? So in that case, I'm going to, if I have another meeting, I'll let you know that, listen, I am engaged at that time. I have another person. How about this time for you? Would that work for you? Or if I don't have another meeting, I'll make sure that you stay in my office, because if nobody shows up, I may go to the STEM center. I may go to probably another faculty and basically chat with them, or I may be in my office trying to do some stuff like grade or do other things. So again, please send me a message ahead of time saying you're coming at Tuesday at 8 o'clock or something else. Now, none of these times work for you. For example, okay, you have other classes, you have other things going on, you're working, you have other stuff going on, and you clearly cannot meet whether online on this time or any of these times in person. Okay, so in that case, reach out still to me and say, you know what, can we meet, for example, on Thursday at 3 p.m. In that case, I will tell you I can't meet with you on 3 p.m. because I know for a fact that I'm teaching at that time. I have actually Astronomy 125 Section 2, the one that meets on Thursday. But how about, for example, Friday at 10 a.m.? Would that work for you? Friday 10 a.m. is not listed in here, but if I don't have a meeting on that day, if I'm not in a department meeting or something, a division meeting or something, yeah, we can meet on Friday morning or Friday afternoon if that works for you. If none of that works for you, we can still do Saturday, okay, or Sunday. So if none of these times work for you, we can still meet, okay, as long as the time that we meet at, both of us works for both of us, in the sense that you're free and I am also free, and in that time we meet. Okay, it may very well be at late. Okay, how about 7 p.m. for example on Wednesday, like today, for example, if you're working or you have other classes and you cannot meet. Okay, and there are times where you will want to meet. Okay, so it's not really out of the realm of the possibility that you really don't want to meet. So I encourage you strongly to either come in person or meet online, and in which case I will send you a Zoom link, and then we will meet and for what, 10 minutes if you like, 15 minutes, half an hour, whatever it takes to complete the task, okay? So that's basically as far as this meeting. This is my office number. So when you call it, it goes actually as an email and a notification to me, so I would know about it. So please, if you can still reach out by phone. The best way to actually reach out to me is honestly through the inbox from here. So if you go to the inbox and send me a message from here, I will know exactly which class you are in, because I have, I think, 6 classes this semester. So if you send a message and you say, hey, this is John, I'm having a problem with homework number 3, and I cannot figure out the second problem, I think in one class alone, I have 3 Johns. So imagine how many Johns I have in the entire sequence. I would not know where to start it from if you send me an email, or even if you come in here and call, okay? So it's a good idea to send an email, to send a message via the inbox, because then the inbox will tell me exactly which class you're coming from. So if I know, for example, that John from my Astronomy 120 section 71, most likely there is 1, probably 2 or 3 at most, okay? So in that case, I have at least, not only that, but I know actually what homework he's talking about or she's talking about, and then also what problem they're talking about. Obviously, you're going to send a message, an email. If you're going to send an email, you still have to tell me which class you're in, not just Astronomy 120, but Astronomy 120 section 71. And also the homework and all of the stuff in here as clear, as detailed as possible, so that to basically not waste time trying to look you up and see exactly which class you're coming from and basically what question that you have and so on and so forth. So hopefully that's clear in terms of messaging, in terms of office hours, okay? So again, this is an online class. This meetings on Mondays, again, as I mentioned it before, it's not going to happen all the time, but leading to exams, leading to major tasks, like, for example, projects and things like that, I will schedule a meeting. I will send you a link. And if you can attend live, please do, okay? Because it really makes the topic a lot better, okay? Sorry, guys, I have my cat outside. He wants to come in, but it's really an annoyance. You hear the meowing, it's the cat. Anyway, the point being in here is that it's not required that you attend them live, but if you cannot attend them live, you're strongly encouraged to, not only encouraged, actually you're required to watch the recording later on, to basically make sure you're up to par, you're keeping up with the course, and you know exactly where you are. Because one of the things that is graded in this class is participation and engagement in the course. So it's not an option really to pass the class. Again, this stuff in here is typical things. This is the objectives of what we're supposed to be learning in this overall. And the course requirements, it says in here 2 written short projects. So in addition to the participation, as I was mentioning, quizzes, reading, you have this project. And I mentioned in the beginning that one of the meetings, this scheduled Monday, is for those 2 projects. You have 2 projects. You're not required to submit both of them. So I'll go more in detail about how these projects work come Monday. Because one of them you will see already has been posted this week, and another one is going to be actually going to be posted on next week. So both of them will be available for you guys. They will have similar due dates, and I'm going to go more in detail come Monday about this project, exactly how to do them, what is expected, and how to submit your reports to them. You have several options for submitting the reports from the get-go. You can submit them using the form I'm going to provide for you, or you're going to write your own form. You're going to write your own basically report, or you're going to make a video basically and tell me exactly your report can be actually some sort of a recording, and you post it for me, and then I will go through it and make sure you answer all the questions and you do all the stuff that's needed to be done. More details Monday, this coming Monday at 10 a.m. Okay, as far as that. Anyway, so these are the stuff that is typical in all of the, this is how the grades is going to be, okay? Obviously, the midterms I mentioned before, there are 3 of them. Homework assignments and quizzes. and then 1 out of 2 projects. So you're not required to do both. You're required only to do one of them, okay? And of course, the participation, as I was saying, and here it's crucial. And we'll see how that participation is shapes up, okay? And this is a different topic. So this is the syllabus. Hopefully you guys have had look at it already, and you know exactly how what is expected from this class and what's going on and so on and so forth, okay? Anyway, so let's go back home. So again, the bulk of the course is here. So I'm going to go into modules. And this is so far the 2 weeks. So this is last week. And this is this week, okay? Every week, you will have objectives for that week. Week 1, you have objectives. Week 2, you have objectives. And week 3 and 4, so the next weeks are all have objectives. So please pay attention to the objective. It tells you basically in a nutshell what is going to happen. What are the main assignments that are due this week? Every week, you will have discussion for that week. So week 1 has its own discussion, and it's worth 5 points. That is going toward your participation, by the way. Week 2 also has a discussion, and it's worth 5 points. This is due February 23rd, and this is due February 25th. So it's usually you have, I think there is something wrong with this one. It has to be changed, okay? I'm going to change that one. It should be usually about 10 days. And this is not giving you 10 days. This is giving you about 2 days, okay? 3 days. So please, when you see something that is not correct in here, let me know, okay? So usually you have about 10 days for the discussion assignments. Obviously, this is adjusted from a previous basically course that I taught. And sometimes Canvas will adjust the dates not to exactly the way that they are supposed to line up, okay? So again, also every week you will have basically the PowerPoints, the units that you're supposed to be reading, okay? Last week you had 2 units, this week you have 3 units. The book that we're using in here is not divided into chapters. It's more like sections of chapters. Okay, so it's the units in here. That's what they're called. They're smaller in content than a full chapter, like other textbooks. They have them. So in terms of the reading, it's less reading for a unit because it's really a section of a big chapter. Typical chapters, they will have about 6, 7 units, sections. So think of this one, not even a full chapter. It's about half a chapter, okay? This one is probably about less than half a chapter. So that's basically the stuff that you're expected to do in terms of reading from the book, which is already available from Brightwave. You should have, if you go to Brightwave, you should have already the textbook available for you there, okay? So again, this is the reading that is expected on a weekly basis. And these are the PowerPoints basically to help you also guide you through your reading. Every week we'll have content, okay, which is really just a summary of those concepts that need to be covered. You're not relying on the content from here or even these PowerPoints to learn the topic. You are required to go through the textbook. So you are required to spend readings. Granted, it's not a lot of reading because it amounts to about half a chapter per week, okay? But it's still you are required to do it. That's actually part of the requirement. Think about the in-person course. If we are meeting on campus, you're going to come to the class and spend about 1 hour and 15 minutes twice. So basically 3 hours a week just to go through those content stuff. And then when you go home, you still have at-home assignments, another additional 3 hours, plus probably a little bit of extra work that you need to do. So you're looking anywhere between 6 to 8 hours of coursework if you are attending this class in person. That's still true also for this online class. You need to dedicate that much time a week for this class, meaning if you find yourself spending about 1 hour for this class a week, you're not spending as much time as you should. You know that you're probably going to fall behind in your coursework. The reading the assignments, and everything else should amount to anywhere between 6 to 8 hours, because it needs to be equivalent to an in-person class. That's one thing. The other thing is that you need to remember, this is a late start class. If we had this on campus, you will spend more than an hour and 15 minutes per class. You will spend probably an hour and 45 minutes. So this is actually goes more than a regularly started class, a regular full-term class, in a sense that you really are looking for 6 hours is the absolute minimum to spend a week on this class, okay? It's still a course that you're going to receive a grade for it, and you're spending money and time from your part. You really have to also give it the adequate time to make sure you succeed through it. So this is really my whole point in here, that this is still a course. Granted, it's an online. Granted that it's an async course, but don't fall behind and say, you know what, this week I'm going to spend an hour on it. Or you realize by the end of the week you spent only about an hour to 2 hours on it because you were busy with other things. And then the week after you spent an hour to 2 hours on it, guess what? In this case, you're falling behind in this class, because every week will have its own proper load. And the absolute minimum load is 6 hours, okay, for that week. So if you find yourself spending less time, that means you are not following what the course is supposed to do, okay? So this is something that I really need to be upfront with my online students, because we get into the habit sometimes that thinking that, okay, I'm going to leave it to the last week and do things. That's not going to work. I'm going to tell you from the get-go. If you're going to do that, that is only going to be a problem down the road, okay? It's not recommended. You're going to waste your time, and you're going to really waste your money. So it's probably not a good way to do the class, okay? So hopefully I'm clear on that. There are quizzes. There was no quiz on, so you will have different assignments for different weeks, okay? That's going to pop up left and right. And this is the first of the 2 projects that I mentioned. This one is here, and I did not in purpose put them in the same week to give you time to look at one and look at the other. But please don't make a decision until at least Monday, when we have that meeting. Then you go through both of them critically and decide which one would work for you, okay? So that's one thing. In addition to that, you will have 1 to 2 video recordings per week. So let me click on that one for week 1. So these are previous recordings. As a matter of fact, this is actually from a previous meeting, okay? So there are 3 videos in here, okay? This is from 2023. So this is stuff that is from a previous recordings, meaning we're going through the lecture, and here in this video, so let me click on it to see it's how much time. It's 56 minutes, okay? This is an hour and 20 minutes, okay? So basically, we're going through the concepts and trying to, so in other words, this is your recorded lectures. Granted, they're from previous, but the content did not really change from 2023 to today, or 2022 to today. It's still the same content, still the same book. The book was never edited from that time till today. Was not edited from that time till today. Anyway, the content is the same, so the recording is from previous. So that's going to give you another tool to do the material. So as if you're attending the class live in person. Again, it's going to be on your own pace, because it's 56, it's an hour on average, an hour for 10 minutes on average. My recommendation for you is don't sit through it from the beginning to the end, because that's going to be, I mean, if you're like me and you have other things busy to do, you're not going to be going through it from the beginning to the end. So because you're going to lose focus. My recommendation is not to spend about 15 minutes per recording, and time yourself. Okay, so 15, 20 minutes now. Maybe I should pause it right now. Remember the time, put a note into where you stopped, so that you can come back later on. Not only that, but because also you're supposed to go through the lecture on your own. So it's supposed to be an additional tool for you to overcome the difficulties with the lecture, because if you read through the materials in the book, you may find some definitions, you might find some things that probably are kind of strange to you, but if you watch the recording, that's supposed to help you with that. This is true even if you are attending the class in person. meaning you come to my class in person, we go through the lecture, we talk about it, but then when you go home, you're supposed to do the reading, or before coming to the class, you're supposed to do the reading. So the lecture is not in lieu of, it was never in lieu of reading the materials in the book. So both of them, they go together. You cannot really read the book by itself because then there are a lot of terminology, and the buildup of that terminology and the buildup of those things, they become a little bit of a handicap. You cannot really progress as much as you want. So in that case, you really need the lecturer, you need an instructor to go with you and help basically break down those barriers and move on, okay, and progress in your course as you move on. So that's basically the tool that you have in this class in there. Okay. In addition, of course, we will have this meetings like today's meeting, for example. As a matter of fact, it's going to replace this meeting was supposed to be the first week, okay? But because of the fact the first Monday was kind of a holiday, I couldn't do it last week. So this is actually the first time we're gonna meet. It's gonna be in here, okay? So again, this is from 2023. You're gonna have yours in here, and this is actually from 2022, okay? It says in here on the bottom 2022. Anyway, so this is basically in a nutshell how your course is supposed to be. You have actually an assignment in here that you're supposed to take care of. So let me click on it. Okay. And this assignment, you're supposed to, let me see if I can do it or not. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to do it or not because I'm logged in as a test student. This is not a real student. So if I click on my assignment, basically, and apparently it's loading. Okay, it is. I see some of you who already have answered in here. I can come in here and also put my own comments in there and so on and so forth. That's really what is expected off of this assignment, okay? And again, that has a due date, which is this Friday by 11:59 p.m., okay? And it has in here how it's graded. Okay, you're gonna receive 15 points total by doing this, and doing that. All of my assignments should have a clear rubric into how they are graded. Okay. If you find one that does not, please let me know because I'm working very hard to make sure none of them is actually it does not have rubrics. So I think all of them do, but just in case one of them does not, please let me know, okay? So that to fix that quickly, okay? So this is basically in a nutshell how the course is laid out. Again, you have quizzes that are timed. They're timed, which brings me to another point. If you happen to be a student in the SAS, who is also actually a part of the SAS program, please let me know so that to adjust your times and make sure that you are properly accommodated. Obviously, this should be on a one-to-one basis, so you need to reach out to me and provide the proper documentation so that you're properly actually treated, so that you're not unfairly treated. So this is basically in terms of the course, okay? And every week, as I was saying, everything opens up. There will be exam reviews where you will have ample notifications basically ahead of time to prepare for your exam. There will be midterms actually where you're going to have the actual midterm and you submit your assignments for it. And again, the assignments, they're all timed for the midterm. And because it's a midterm, I can't really have it open for a while. So it's going to be open for 2 to 3 days at most. So in that case, we really have to plan accordingly. Usually I do the assignments open on Thursday. You would have Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, just in case if you are working during the week or if you have other classes during the week, you can still always do it on a Saturday. I would recommend, because this is still a class, I would recommend not to do that, honestly. I would recommend that you allocate the time during the week also, because this is also something that you really have to plan for it during the week. And once the assignment opens, you go immediately on it and you start on it. Sounds good, everybody? Or yes? Very good. Thank you very much. Okay. So again, those who are watching the recording, please, if something is not clear, send a message and we will at least will reply through it, which brings me to another point. If your question will benefit everybody else, I'm going to post an announcement for everybody so that everybody knows about it. That, hey, when we had the meeting, I said something and probably it was not clear. This is what I meant by it, okay? Or there was no clarification on a topic that was forgotten or not included. Here is the clarification. But if it's something specific to you, I'm going to reply to you directly, okay, for that specific item. That's one thing. The other thing also, once we go into let me go back home and let me go to the syllabus. Once you come into a meeting, okay, and you have a question, there are two types of questions that people ask. One question that is specific to that person, and that's going to be yours. Nobody's going to basically know about it, okay? That's your own thing. But if the question really is actually related to everybody else and everybody else can benefit from it, in that case, with your own permission, I will tell you, look, from this point on, we're recording, okay? And the reason why I think we have to record is because I think everybody else will benefit from it. Would you allow me to do so? In that case, you may say, you know what? I'm not feeling comfortable about it, or no, can you please do it later on or something? That's fine. I respect that. Then I will not record it while you're with me, but I will record it later on and say that's one of you guys asked a question, and here is the general question for everybody else, so that everybody else can benefit from it without relaying any kind of specific things related to you or anybody, as a matter of fact. But if you say go ahead and record, then I will record and try to remove whatever is personal from that discussion so that people don't identify or really have no clue of what is said. In other words, some of these questions can be actually, as I was saying in the beginning, really they enrich the topic and they will make it actually more interesting for everybody. So the fact that you attend the class or you ask those questions, whether in person or later on, is critical for this class, because sometimes I say something and I think it's clear and I think it's perfect, as a matter of fact. I think this is, I mean, exactly how it's supposed to be. But for you, it sounds kind of a, why is it so? Why can we see it differently? And you might think about it, that if I do ask that question, I may be, people think that I am probably not smart, or think probably that I am not understanding or something like that. That's not your problem, first of all. The problem falls back on me, because as an instructor, I'm supposed to explain things so that it's clear to you, not to anybody else. As a matter of fact, not to anyone else except to you. If it's not clear to you, that's my problem, not yours, okay? That's one thing. The other thing also is, chances are, if you have difficulty seeing it, understanding it, then there is actually more than one person. As a matter of fact, there will be very grateful people for you for asking that question, even though they probably don't know it immediately. But once they see the question has been raised, oh, I didn't think about that before. As a matter of fact, that's a good point that you raised, okay? So please do ask these questions. They can only make the topic better. And don't be shy of any question. Don't be shy of anything in here that you may think that it's kind of a maybe. Don't put that at all. Just shoot it, okay? Discuss it, clarify it, and sometimes, and that's actually the purpose also of something in here that I didn't talk a lot about. I didn't talk at all about today. In the open discussions, sometimes one of your peers will have a better way of saying it than me. There is no harm in that, okay? Because I would say it in a way, and I think that's probably the perfect way, but someone else will say, you know what, this is how it's supposed to be. And that's fine. As a matter of fact, that's actually great. Okay? I love that, okay? That's actually how it's supposed to be, okay? Or somebody might ask a question and you jump in and you say, no, that's not how it's, this is how it is. This is, or you're right, this is how, that's a good point, but this is also another way of looking at it. That is actually the ultimate goal. That is actually part of the first assignment that you're supposed to reply to peers or something like that. First of all, to build that communication tool, and also to see where your peers are coming from, and hopefully build on this community and make sure that it's successful community. This is an open topic, not a graded assignment. So if you have a general question or if you're asking for something, that's a good place to go. Okay. And there will be times where it's a good idea to work in teams, because there will be homework assignments. There will be stuff that is related to this class that you're asked to hopefully work together on. Sounds good? Thank you. Anyway, here is a quick, I know in here it says the objectives and the things that we're supposed to learn and things like that. I'm going to spend about 5-10 minutes right now to talk about that, okay? Basically the things that we'll be learning in this class. I know I have a software in here on this computer, which is called, it's a simulation software, which is called, I forgot the name for it right now. Universe Sandbox. I have Universe Sandbox version 2.0, which is really a simulation and gives you all kinds of things. But actually, I have better than that, and I know I mentioned it in the syllabus, and that would be, what is it, in the Canvas thing? Yeah, which is Stellarium, okay? I know some of you are taking my Astronomy 125, which is the lab version of this class, and we talked about that one in class, in Astronomy 125, because Astronomy 125 was the lab version of this class. Even the late one started before this online class, so that's kind of strange, okay? I know some of you actually from my Astronomy 125 who are sitting in this Astronomy, they missed the first week because they thought, hey, how could the lab start before the lecture? So they just thought that it's not going to work, but the first assignment, so that you guys know, was not required. For those who are not attending Astronomy 125 and don't know what I'm talking about, just please ignore these things about it, okay? Okay, so this is the software I'm talking about in here. So if you have a computer at home that you can install stuff on, and if you have a Windows machine, please use any of those installations. This is for Windows 10 and plus. This is for Windows 7 and plus if you have a 32-bit. If you have a 64-bit, basically my recommendation for you is always try to start with a 64-bit. And if it tells you your computer is not compatible with it, then you just go down the list, okay, this way, okay? The 64-bit is better, okay? The architecture is better and the computer would work better for it. If you have a Mac, this is the only version that you can install. If you have a Linux, you can install this one. I don't know what the snap is, honestly. I know I have Linux machines. I even have Raspberry Pis and things like that, but I have no idea what this snap is. I know the source code is something you can compile. Anyway, if you have Linux, also you can install it. Most of the time, people don't have that. You can use also the web version. I have a computer in here, so I already have installed it. So let me try to fire it and show you. Okay. And I'm going to stop sharing until Stellarium comes up, and it did. Show Stellarium. Okay, this is how it looks like. It's supposed to give you a visual of your outside. I mean, this is a generic image. This is not something that you're. I mean, at least this is not how the outside look like in here. I'm in here in the area between Loma Linda and Colton, if you know that area, not far from the two hospitals, from the VA hospital and also the Loma Linda hospital. So your area is probably, so my area is not like this. Anyway, I look at the south, southwest, south in here, southeast, east, and so on and so forth. This is my horizon, basically. And you can clearly see that I am in this location in here. As a matter of fact, it's giving me my location, and I think it's giving me the wrong location. That's not where I am at, okay? 37 degrees is not where I am at. This is far north than what we are in here. This is about 34 degrees. So probably I should change my location to at least make sure I am in the proper location. So I'm going to pick up San Bernardino, okay? So it's not only that, but it's giving me some nonsense stuff somewhere in the Midwest. Okay, so let me pick up San Bernardino. San Bernardino, North America. Okay, that's 34 degrees. That's more like it. 117 degrees west. That's more like where we are. Okay, so this is my location now. And in this software, in this actually, let me remove the sky. Remove the effects of the atmosphere and remove the sky so that we look at everything that we're going to be learning in this project, in this class. Obviously, we're going to learn about stuff in the solar system. Okay, this is the moon. It's one of the topics that we're going to be learning on. In this class also, let me pull the ecliptic in here. Okay, and actually the meridian. And that's not the ecliptic, okay? I don't have, so this is the ecliptic, okay? This is where all the stuff that is in the solar system move, okay? And of course, this is Venus. This is one of the objects we'll be learning about in this class, and this is Mars. So we are very close from where they're supposed to line up correctly next to one another, okay? Venus and Mars. Those are two of the objects that we'll be learning about. This is Mercury. Wherever you see the sun, Mercury is not too far from it. This time of the year, we're not going to be able to see the Saturn unless it's very, very early in the evening, okay? And it's when the sun sets, we're going to see Saturn. And it's a beautiful sight in the fall to see Saturn because with Saturn, you can see its rings and things like that. So basically, in this class, we're going to learn about the ring system of Saturn and some of the other planets. All of the outer planets have ring systems. It's not just Saturn. And of course, we're going to learn about its moons. The biggest moon that we're going to learn about is Titan. Let me stop the time in here. Okay. Because the time is moving. And since I'm very much zoomed in, these objects tend to move far. So one of the objects that we're going to be learning about is the moons in the solar system, and Titan is the second largest moon in the solar system, just behind Ganymede. Okay, and Ganymede is the moon of, let me zoom out a little bit, the moon of Jupiter. Okay, so again, we're going to be learning about some of these objects. Obviously, Saturn and Jupiter are going to be together. So when we zoom in up close, on Jupiter, we see 4 moons. Callisto, Ganymede is the biggest moon in the solar system. Callisto is the 3rd moon after Titan. The 4th moon in the solar system is actually Io. Okay, you can clearly see the information in here. So that's one of the moons that we're going to be learning about. Okay, and it's this moon for the 5th moon. I mean, the 4th moon is Io in the solar system in terms of size. The 5th moon is actually Earth's moon. That's one of the objects that we're going to be learning about in this class. Europa is the moon that is next in size, okay? And that's actually one of the interests, is slightly less than the Earth's moon. Anyway, so these are some of the objects that we'll be learning about in the solar system. In here, we're going to be learning about Neptune and where is Neptune? It should be somewhere in the ecliptic in here. Okay. I guess it's not showing in here because it's far, okay? Saturn. Okay, so we can always find it in here, okay? That's the nice thing about this. So again, if you don't have it, please install it. It's a free one. So let me go to Neptune. And it's not too far. You see what it's not too far from the sun also. Of course, you can't see it with the with anything other than powerful telescope in here. And even a powerful telescope is going to be a fuzzy picture in there. So this is Neptune. This is its moon Triton, which is a captured dwarf planet. So again, we're going to talk about the oddity for Triton and how it's related to Neptune itself. I said before that all the planets outside of past Mars have rings. And so that's not different also for Neptune and its moons. One of them planets also, they're going to be lumped together, named Uranus and Neptune, is also Uranus. So let me find Uranus in here, and it's going to be not too far from the ecliptic, okay? So obviously, when you zoom out this far, you're not going to see Neptune. That's why it's, and so is actually Uranus is here. Actually, you can see it clearly in here somewhere. And I saw it with a name, okay? So again, this is Uranus. And its ring system also, it has a ring system, as I was saying before, okay? So this is its moons. It has small moons, relatively speaking, okay? So again, you can zoom on these planets, and it has Miranda, Ariel, and Umbriel, and Titania. Those are its big moons, okay? And it has smaller moons, okay? Oberon also is another big moon also. So those are the moons of Uranus. So again, we're going to learn about these moons, okay? And well, after we learn about that, of course, we're going to learn about the dwarf planets. Pluto is one of them. Pluto is the famous one, but that's not the only one. Okay, and it's somehow in here, not too far actually from where Venus and Mars is. Okay, it's far, relatively speaking, from the ecliptic, where the plane of everybody is, because now you're very far away from the solar system. I mean, from the sun and the solar system. So objects now start to deviate from the ecliptic because they are far away, so they are not exactly as regular planets. Its biggest moon, of course, is this one. Okay, it has total of 5 moons now. We discovered that Pluto has this moons, but Charon or Charon, depending on who you ask, is the biggest moon. As a matter of fact, it's relatively speaking, this ratio of moon to planet is the biggest one in the solar system, and Earth is the second one. Actually, the Earth is moon, and the Earth ratio is big enough. Relatively speaking, if you take the biggest moon in the solar system, for example, Ganymede versus its own planet, which is Jupiter, the ratio is smaller than that of the Earth versus the moon, or the moon versus the Earth, and this moon, to the point that these two objects in here, they don't, excuse me, the moon does not orbit the dwarf planet Pluto, but orbits its common center of mass, very center of orbit. Okay, again, that's not the only dwarf planet that we're going to be learning about. We're going to learn about so more of them, okay? They're going to be all clumped together. One of them is Eris, okay? And it's even far away from the ecliptic then. Even at this point in here, this software is giving me a fuzzy picture of it, okay? And if there is anybody to blame for Pluto not being planet, is this dwarf planet Eris. After that, we're going to learn about, of course, the stars. One of the stars we're going to start with, of course, is the sun. Okay. This is the sun. Okay. And its main features that it has in here. Okay. Of the sun, we're even going to delve inside the sun. And we see that the sun is actually a main sequence star. We're going to learn about other stars that are not main sequence stars, that are basically there toward the end of their life, like Betelgeuse, okay, which is a massive star. Obviously, it's a very far away. Right now, we really don't have a good image of it, as relatively speaking, for example, as the sun. And this is another one. It's actually Aldebaran, okay, which is part of the eye of the bull. Before we do that, we learn actually, as a matter of fact, about constellations. And one of the features that you have in the software is the constellations. So let me get into, no, not the names, at least the shapes of the constellations. Obviously, you have different types of constellations. You have actually 3 main constellations, okay, systems. You have the constellations that are part of the zodiac, the sign of the zodiac, okay? And those are the ones that are okay, that they go through the ecliptic basically, and as the sun moves around the year on the ecliptic, it's actually the Earth that is moving on the ecliptic, not but it gives us the apparent motion that the sun is doing that. Every time the sun is on one side, then that constellation will be visible on the other side until the Earth completes that cycle. I know this is one of the first few minutes that we do that. And then you have the so-called circumpolar uh, 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 constellations. Constellations that revolve around this central point, okay? So this is Polaris, the star Polaris, okay? Or the North Star. Right now, the time is frozen. I froze the time earlier, if you guys remember. If I move everything, you will see everything spins around Polaris. So I'm gonna let the time now move, and I'm actually going to expedite it a little bit, and you will see that everything should move. Let me put Polaris in the center. Everything should move around Polaris, okay? And you're asking why, of course, the time is flying right now. It's every minute has this many seconds going. That's why if we go outside and look at it, we have to really wait 1 hour to see the stars move 15 degrees in the sky, okay? Obviously, the whole thing is an illusion. What's going on is the Earth is spinning, okay? And if you look at something and you are moving, it looks like the other thing is moving, but not you. So this is actually, and because the axis, the tilt of the axis of the Earth is pointing toward Polaris, everything seems to be moving around it, okay? So again, these are the constellations, and these constellations, they are going around Polaris, okay? The famous one is Cassiopeia, of course, this, what looks like it's a 3. Right now it's going to be a 3, then it's going to be an M, then it's going to be a backward 3, and then an omega, and so on and so forth. So you have this one, Draco, of course, is another one. And you have constellations that are irregular shapes. One of the famous, let me stop this because it's dizzying actually after a while. Okay, and actually let me pause it completely. One of the famous constellations that we're going to be learning about them, actually one of them, actually that's very important to look at the sky, is of course Orion. And in Orion, I mentioned Betelgeuse, but there are some famous stars in it too. Of course, you have Rigel, you have Bellatrix, you have Saiph. Those are some of the brightest stars, but the biggest famous ones is the 3 stars that form the belt. Okay, and they are Mintaka, Al-Nilam, and Nitak. Most of these names are of Arabic origin, with the exception of Bellatrix and here the goddess of war or something like that in Roman culture. Everything else is actually of Arabic names at this point. The word Saiph means literally a sword, and Rigel means the leg. Betelgeuse is basically the armpit of the giant. That's how it's really meant in Arabic. And all of this are different versions of the word belt in Arabic, okay, and related to the belt. As you look in here, there are some stuff that we're going to be learning in this class in here. These are the nebulae. Let me try to zoom in into one of them in here, if I can. Okay. This is where the James Webb was looking at objects in here and had that famous picture that they called it the hand of God, actually. That's a name, okay, it's not real. Okay, here is the whole, horse head, basically, the nebula in here. There is a nebula in here. It's part of the Orion Nebula in here. Of course, there is more nebulae. So again, we're gonna learn about these things as part of the class. And basically where stars are forming, okay? Part of the stellar evolutions. At the end, the whole thing in here, I'm going to try to find something in here for you guys, not date and time. Search for, I'm looking for Sagittarius. A star. This is the one. Okay, here it is. This is nothing. Sagittarius A star is the central black hole of our own galaxy. This is actually the main structure in the solar in the Milky Way galaxy. It is the one where all the stars are revolving around it. Obviously, if you zoom in, you don't see nothing. That is understandable because it's supposed to be a black hole. You can see it. Okay, but it's really the main thing where everything is happening. Okay, and that's the center of the Milky Way. And of course, the Milky Way has all of this dust in front of it in here. And that's basically part of the stuff that you see in here. Then let me see if I can find Andromeda, another galaxy in here, because we're going to learn about other galaxies also. Okay. I don't see where my pointer is, so let me try to zoom in it. Obviously, I see a galaxy in there. Here is the Andromeda galaxy. Okay. So this is actually another galaxy that we can see. This is our biggest neighbor. There are a bunch of galaxies, and about 40 galaxies in our neighborhood. This is the biggest player in this local group. The second biggest player in the local group is actually our own galaxy, the Milky Way. And the third one is Triangulum. And at some point in the future, they will all merge together. Okay. All three galaxies will merge together. Other than that, then our other galaxies exist and they're far away more than this one. And then we're going to learn about the dynamics of galaxies and how they interact with one another and how they devour one another. Actually, our own galaxy was involved several times in the past as part of the galactic, what do you call it, cannibalism, basically eating other galaxies. And at some point, it's going to merge because it's too big to be absorbed by another galaxy, but the two of them will destroy one another. At least they will go into an irregular shape at some point, and they'll tell the two black holes, that of the center of the Milky Way and that of the center in the Andromeda galaxy, they will merge into a huge a black hole that forms the new center for probably the new galaxy, unless one of them is ejected completely and the other one plays a role. So there's all kinds of dynamics happening between galaxies. Then after we go out of our own local group, we're going to learn about other groups and how they merge together, forming big clusters like the Virgo cluster, supercluster where we belong to. And this turn out, after this dust, basically with the new powerful telescopes now that can see past this dust, which is called the zone of avoidance. Basically, other stuff passed beyond that, and our own cluster is actually part of a bigger cluster, which is called the Laniakea, and that cluster and other superclusters form what is known as the universe. So this is the stuff that we're going to learn in this class. One of the things that we're going to ask toward the end is what will happen to our universe? First of all, where did it come from and where is it headed? Those are huge questions. These are a lot of things that we want to hopefully learn in this class. And that's really the, let me stop sharing in here. Okay, how could I do that without having to, because this has blocked everything in here. So let me see if I can stop it. Okay, so we're back into this one in here. Anyway, so the point being in here, there are so many things that we're going to be doing. And I know I mentioned, at least for my Astronomy 125 people who are. Selena, you didn't see the planets at all when I was showing them?
No, I didn't see them. I just saw a landscape and your mouse.
Wow, I'm sorry. I thought that it was showing. Let me try it one more time. Okay, let me share the screen. Let me keep this one in here. Okay, share. You see the mouse? You see the mouse, or you see the landscape now?
I see the landscape and the mouse.
Okay,
And
let me do some.
the S.
Okay, hold on. Let me do something in here. Let me go into. First of all, let me minimize the size and put it into this screen. You're still seeing it or not?
Yeah.
Okay, let me try. Let me try to go back and remove. Do you see the stars now or not?
Yeah, I can see the stars now.
Okay. How about I remove the landscape now? Do you still see the landscape?
I don't see the landscape.
The stars.
Just
That's what I was sharing. Okay. That's what I thought I was sharing.
no.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
now
this is, I'm sorry, you should have, I went through. So this is Jupiter.
I
Okay.
didn't know if I was right or wrong. So yeah, I just.
I don't know what happened. I'm sorry. That's a glitch probably from my end. This is Saturn. Okay. If you happen to have a telescope or access to a telescope, it's really an amazing sight to see the rings of Saturn and actually see this moon. Because when you see Saturn, you only see one moon with a telescope. Most telescopes, anyway. An 8-inch telescope, 10-inch telescope will show you the rings and will show you Titan, but not any other of the moons. Okay. So anyway, so these are the stuff that will. But Mercury, unfortunately, you really have to go very. Sometimes actually it's visible in the sky. You can see it actually too, and it looks not too far, not too different from the moon. Let me stop the time in here because otherwise things start to move. Okay, so I'm sorry, you should have really stopped me when I was getting excited about things. Anyway, so this is not supposed to be a lecture, honestly, but just to give you an idea of the things that we will be exploring in this class. Okay. And you are strongly encouraged, it's part of the syllabus anyway, to download the software. It's a free software as long as you have a computer, okay? If you have a phone, you can still download the software on it, but it's not free. I think it's like $5 or something like that, okay? So that's the only thing I can tell you about this thing. And hopefully you guys can enjoy this class, especially if you're taking my Astronomy 125. We'll do a lot of hands-on in this class. We don't do a lot of hands-on. Most of it is actually on lecture. There will be a couple of projects where you choose one of them. Obviously, you have the option to do both, okay? But you're going to submit only one of them for grading purposes. Any questions? Or
No
no?
question.
Thank you very much, okay?
you.
So I'm gonna stop the recording and I will see you guys on Monday, hopefully.